first of all, like all bad presentations, I'm going to first tell you what this is not about. This presentation is not about me. It's about what, as Dieter said, 40 to 50 students have done in the Baviaanskloof. But related to that, I can't in 5 to 10 minutes give a summary of all the biophysical research that has been done in the area either. So why am I really here? Well, I'll tell you that too. First of all, maybe in inventory, how many of you have actually been there? Just to give you an idea of how, and James also, but he's checking his emails. Nice.
Where is this site? Baviaanskloof?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been completely bad.
Okay. Just
Have you gone on?
because what at the end of my talk, I would like to do is maybe some of you who have actually been there, just to share some experience about what your research was like, and see what happens with that. Well, this is the full slide. It's rather about, and I call myself an outsider. I visited the place in May, June, and I, as it says, I've been using this area as a case study area. So I didn't feel like an outsider, but technically I was. I just visited the place. There was already a lot of research that had been done, but as Dieter communicated it to me, there was a kind of a need to streamline the data, to see what do we have and what kind of story can it tell us. So for me that was quite useful because I had kind of a general approach that I wanted to test. Does it work? Does it even work in an area where there is a lot of data, but there's also a lot of data missing? And what I see, and that's what I'm going to tell you briefly about, is that there was a slight shift between the kind of data that was generated in the early days in 2008 and what research has been starting since 2010. As I said, this work is guided by experiences of students that work there. And many posters will actually be on display either in workshop session 6, which is at the nice hall next to the lecture room, and there's one poster which I happen to have made, which also features a bit of Baviaanskloof information. And I think this is also a good example of all this data that has been gathered. If you pour this into the mold of ecosystem services, then you can use this ecosystem services concept as a way to guide data collection, but also to bring the existing data that we already have together. And just to clarify the outsider's view a little bit, what do I mean with outsider's view? As I said, I use it as a case study. My whole research and our whole project is at the Environmental Systems Analysis Group is about quantifying relationships between land management and ecosystem services provision. And examples of land management that we look at, they are both direct and indirect in terms of impact. They can have direct impacts such as land use change and land cover change, but also indirect as just conservation policies, protection, restoration of vegetation, etc. We use Baviaanskloof as a case study, just partly to test our approach, but also how to deal with gathering data and compiling data that's already there. This is what I saw. And the first thing I need to explain, and I still need to explain this to myself, is that this is a river. And it can be quite a large one. And it was completely unique. Marijn told me that there was actually water in this river. And that really opened my eyes. And this what you see here is actually, it shouldn't be there, of course. It's a lot of erosion. Rocks that are just rolling down just due to one flash flood. This is what I saw, and this really opened my eyes and maybe clarifies a bit of the problems that I'll be listing right now. There's quite a bit of land use, as Dieter showed in the map. It's not our aim, it's never been our aim to get rid of all the land use and all the people using their land, because that's not really working together on a solution. But you can always question what will be a way towards sustainable land use. As I showed in the picture, there's quite a bit of soil erosion. If you have a good flash flood, a good bit of rain, as we've had during the past couple of months, then these rocks, they just come thundering down. We have the issue of vegetation cover loss, as Dieter showed in the nice contrasting picture of intact and not intact vegetation, or completely disappeared vegetation. And there's this question among us scientists, among stakeholders: restoration, conservation, why? What does it bring us? Of course, we restore something. What do we actually restore? And same ecosystem write a nice song about it and put it on YouTube as the living band, the band of presence and living lands has done. But what does it actually do? How does it help us, this whole idea of ecosystem services? As I said, there was a shift in terms of research that had been done. In the early 2008, it was really an exploration, and it was mainly focused on the valuation of ecosystem services, which in these studies they included some biophysical assessment, but it was mainly the end goal of valuation of what we could call umbrella services, carbon sequestration, watershed services, fundamental services for the functioning of the whole system, but also for the functioning of the land use that was occurring there. And this is, as I said before, this is a kind of an outside view what I had. But what I realized in all these reports and all these presentations that I browsed through is that the words ecosystem service and natural capital, they were mentioned quite a few times. And especially to make an extra statement and to make your statement look nicer. But what I sometimes left, and again this is an outside view, is the focus in it. How can you streamline it? How can you actually explain the solutions and the problems through ecosystem services and sustaining natural capital? For instance, which specific services are we actually talking about? Apart from calling umbrella services and regulating services. But after about, let's say, 2010, times were relative of course there was more biophysical research that was started. Partly because South African students have this fantastic long thesis, an MSc thesis projects of about 2 years or so, so they really had some time to dive into there. There was research being done on the river geomorphology, on the water balance, including from vegetation up into the river and even the water flows through the mountains, etc. There was research being started on spectral biology, the functional aspects of it. How much water does it actually capture? How much does it actually matter if you have spectrum there? What are the quantitative effects of revegetation? Notice that it is revegetation, it is restoration. What are the functional aspects of it? Impacts of clearing, not aliens, but alien invasive plant species. Aliens was always a bit of a scary name for me. And there's the issue, as shown in the picture, of soil erosion. You can study that through quite a few examples, and I think one of the best examples is that we now have a complete erosion risk map of the area. What I will do with all this stuff, and I've started doing, is to compile data of 30 student reports into one big, nicely, messy-looking database. And treat them as quantified indicators that in the end lead towards the quantification of all these ecosystem services that can or could be provided in the area. And then you can look at these results. Results that can start telling a story. You've got a lot of data and you've been into the fields, and in the end you put it together into a database. They could start to tell a story about, does it actually reduce soil erosion, restoration? Did it increase the water availability for the farmers, for the entire system? Does it reduce water runoff, vegetation? And what does it do? Does it enable sustainable land use if we actually plant something uphill there? And that's quite an important issue. It's also an ecosystem service. It's one of these dodgy cultural ecosystem services, but it's very, very relevant in the area, increasing opportunities for tourism, either in terms of hunting or sightseeing, going on fantastic trips. I mean, we all love the area. We all find it beautiful. So why not just limit to that and use that as a service too? I'll be using and compiling other data too from comparable regions and comparable studies. This is kind of a Mediterranean vegetation zone, and there's a lot of data from other case studies also that could be merged into this, which is a lot of work. But before giving the floor to maybe some students who would like to share some experiences about the research that they've done, I think, and then you come back to the evaluative aspect of the beautiful DTRU theory, at the beginning of such a fantastic, ambitious, and nice project, what you together need with this common understanding, creating a group of stakeholders that understand each other, you also need